Hey, Sleep on Your Marks Wrestling, and I'm here with an Impact review for May 17th, 2018. Now, full disclosure, my PVR didn't record the whole show, so I had to kind of wake up super early in the morning because I'm actually leaving town today to watch the beginning of the show. That part of the review will be a little bit more abrupt than it usually is because I'm in a big rush. So we start the show, and I'll let you know that it's the beginning of the show that I missed, so you'll note a difference in terms of the review. So we start the show with a recap of last week's episode. We again have announcing without any kind of color, so it's just Matthews alone, really missing Callis or even Sanjay Dutt. We start off with a match of Eli Drake and Scott Steiner versus the newly formed team of Z and E, so it's DJZ and Andrew Everett. A lot of big moves by Z and E. At one point, Steiner hits a Samoan drop from on the ropes. I don't remember if it was second rope, third rope. It was a big Samoan drop. That's all I remember. Throughout the match, Steiner keeps wanting to cheat with the chair and things like that, but Z and E always kind of seem to avoid it. He does eventually manage to get the chair into the match, but he actually accidentally hits Eli Drake with it. Everett hits a standing shooting star press, I believe, and Z and E are the new champs. I did not see that coming at all. I don't know what's going on. I didn't expect Drake and Steiner to hold the belts forever, but Drake lost last week too, I think. So he's not in the main title picture. He's no longer in the tag title picture. And to me, that guy's money. I don't get it. So we'll see what happens. Z and E, we come back from commercial, and Z and E are backstage. There's kind of a feel-good segment where they're just hugging each other and stuff. And I think Petey Williams comes in and hugs them too. It's fine. Matthews, in that kind of usual spot where they kind of go over what happened last week or what's going to happen this week in a studio. Which, he's with Madison Rayne, and he reveals that Madison Rayne will comment on knockouts matches or commentate on knockouts matches. That's fine. So then we get a little taste of that commentating. It's Kiera Hogan versus Tessa Blanchard. So Tessa's kind of started that feud with Kiera to start her career with Impact. Kiera starts off on fire because Blanchard's been kind of antagonizing her, but Blanchard soon gets the edge. The match is almost a squash. I will say Kiera gets a little bit of... it's mostly a brawling match. It's not very technical. And as far as a little brawl, it wasn't very long, but it wasn't bad. Kiera Hogan did get some strikes in that looked pretty good at one point. Ultimately, Tessa hits her hammerlock DDT, and she gets the win. After the match, though, she keeps attacking Hogan. And then Madison Rayne leaves her commentating post and runs in for the save. So that basically kind of sets up a feud, which we learn later, because they're going to have a match at their one of these non-pay-per-views but special TV events, which is fine. That's cool and all. It was nice. I saw Madison Rayne on Ring of Honor this week and it was the first time I saw her in a while, so it was nice to see her back in the ring. She's pretty good. I'm not going to say she's great. Apparently she's a trainer at TNA, or she was for a while. I don't know if she'd be my pick to train people, but maybe she's good at training. I don't know. As a technical wrestler, it's all right. Not that I could do any better. I don't know. Maybe I should stop commenting on that. Maybe she's great and I just don't know. Okay. So then we have a backstage segment with Grado. He accuses Congo and Jimmy Jacobs of being Joseph Park's attackers, so these red X's that we've been seeing lately, he thinks it's them. Jacobs tells Grado that he should stop making accusations, essentially threatening him via Congo Kong. And then Katarina does the whole girlfriend getting her boyfriend into a fight thing, which is, it's a staple, and she does it well. So she basically essentially challenges Kong to a match, says Grado will fight him anytime, any place. We get a little video recap of the Callahan-Edwards feud. Yeah, it's been a good feud. It's probably been one of the better feuds on TV in a long time. I'm thinking, Gargano, Ciampa, Callahan-Edwards, probably the two top feuds of 2018. We get the match Congo Kong versus Grado. This is not much of a match. Congo hits a belly-to-belly suplex early. That was the only kind of interesting move of the match. Grado gets some stuff in, but barely makes an impact. Does a top rope shoulder block, I think, at one point, and knocks Kong down for about a second. Kong hits a kind of power slammy body slam thing. It didn't look great. And he hits a splash, gets a win. Kong attacks Grado after the match, and Katarina doesn't seem to care much, and she just kind of leaves. And then Kong throws Grado into some stairs, and he's setting him up for the lawn dart move that he did to Johnny Impact before. We haven't seen Johnny Impact since. But Moose comes in for the save, and he ends up clotheslining him out of the ring at one point, and that's kind of the end of that. LAX is talking about their business some more. They used air quotes twice so far. But their business being the drug trade, from what it sounds like. Again, they shouldn't be doing this on camera. I don't get it. Cult of Lee come in. They tease them about they're losing their belt and losing Conan. Not much comes from this. You'd expect like LAX to kind of react in a physical way, but they just kind of walk away. It's strange. Then we have a backstage thing with Tommy Dreamer telling Eddie Edwards that once he wins his hardcore match or a street fight match, whatever it's called, his rivalry with Callahan is over, and Edwards protests, and Dreamer says, "Trust me, it's going to be over," something like that. So we get the match. It's a House of Hardcore street fight. Eddie Edwards versus Sami Callihan. Edwards attacks Callahan on the outside right away. There's a bunch of stuff. I'm not gonna hit it all because there's a lot of weapons used and things like that. I did think it was interesting at one point. Sami Callihan tries to use a spike to stab into Edwards' eye. There's a Death Valley driver by Callahan onto kind of their entrance, which is a bit of a bridge type thing. So it looked a little more rough than most entranceway moves. There's a lead pipe duel with a choreographed kind of sword fight. It was all right. I didn't mind that. That was kind of interesting. Callahan hits his finisher, which is a double underhook shoulder breaker. I forget what the real move's called, or what the real name of the move is. He gets a near fall. That's after a low blow. Then Eddie Edwards gets a low blow in on Callahan. There's an attempted vertical suplex onto two chairs by Edwards, but it gets reversed into essentially a fisherman buster into those chairs. And the landing is cool because, like, first of all, the chairs don't break or even bend. They're very good chairs. They're Canadian. No, they're not Canadian chairs. This was House of Hardcore. Never mind. I was going to brag about Canada. But he lands on the chairs and kind of his shoulders are down, so Callahan just pins him that way. And it looked cooler than it should have. But he only gets a near fall out of it. I wrote brutal. I wrote that it looked brutal. That's a good word. Callahan grabs his baseball bat lovingly, and then Edwards hits a Boston knee party on him before he gets to use the bat and gets the win that way. Afterwards, Edwards attacks Callahan, and security tries to slow him down, but they can't. Dreamer comes out and essentially manages to calm him down. Then we get some clips from a Brian Cage versus Facade match out of Canada for Destiny Wrestling. I would normally say, who the hell is Facade? But I watched ROH this week, and Facade was featured on it, and I learned a lot about him. So he's the Neon Ninja. He's a high flyer. I thought he was very good. In this is basically a show of, hey, this is what Cage can do to a smaller high flyer guy. So Cage power bombs Facade into a ring post. Does a bunch of big moves. There's a weird fisherman buster looking thing, but it's converted into a face plant by Cage. I thought it looked cool. Maybe I'm wrong with the fisherman buster, but it started off looking like it might be a fisherman buster is what I'm going to say. He eventually hits Weapon X and gets the win. This was very cut up. It's very edited. I'm sure this match was much longer, but we probably saw 5 minutes of it. Then we have a KM and Fallah Bahh video package. This is decent comedy. It's just KM kind of joking about Fallah Bahh and how much weight he's lost and how good he's looking, and Fallah Bahh's believing it. So Bahh's walking around like a gangster at the end. with a tie around his neck and some glasses, and he thinks of himself as a ladies' man, and he sees Kiera Hogan, and he kind of says does a "how you doing" thing, and she actually likes it. You know what? You need some of this. Excuse me, I almost said TNA, dirty words, but Impact has been very good in terms of really intense storylines of late. I actually thought it was quite good at that. It's nice to have a little bit of levity. But then we go back to serious-ish. Kind of fun, though. We have a video of Rosemary's funeral. So we see the casket being carried by the bridesmaids and Su Yung. They go through like a wooded area, and then they're in essentially an open field or something like that. I'm not sure. Su Yung grabs her throat and spits red mist, which they used an effect to turn it into fire at one point. And they all kind of watch the casket burn. It was a very short segment, but it was cool. I thought it was really well shot. The fire spot is shitty special effects, so be it. It's going to happen. But I thought that, other than that, I thought it was really well shot. It was kind of, like, I'm sure they did this in not a very big area, but it looked bigger than it should have been. And I thought the music that they picked for this was just awesome. I actually thought this segment, I would encourage a bunch of people to watch it, like even non-wrestling fans. I'd say, like, hey, I thought this was interesting. Watch it. They wouldn't get it, but still, I thought it was pretty good. And then we finished the night off with the main event, which is Pentagon Jr. and Phantasma versus Matt Sydal and Austin Aries. Phantasma and Sydal start the match. Nice little exchanges, proper wrestling. Aries and Pentagon then go in, and they have a bit of a mind games face-off with I forget what it is, this thing that Pentagon does, and Aries just kind of does the old school, like, tap someone on the chest and then hit them on the chin or nose with your finger thing. Whatever, it worked fine. There's a bunch of dive spots, one of which is Phantasma doing his, I forget what his dive is. Is it Thrill of the Hunt? Something like that? Or no, Spear to Heaven, or... It's got a crazy name. I can never remember it. Arrow of something. It's an arrow of something. Anyways, he does it's a suicide dive. And his foot kind of gets caught in the rope a little bit. Makes him hit Sydal a little low. It could have been much worse. It could have been pretty disastrous if his foot caught a little bit more. They showed a replay of it, which was kind of interesting. But Matthew sold it properly. He said, like, hey, his foot got caught. I'm not sure he got all of it. That's fine. There's a literal top rope ass kick. So basically, they set up kind of like the Dudley Boys used to do with the Was Up thing, except it's a drop kick to the ass of Aries. I thought that was okay. Excuse me. There is a wheelbarrow. I thought this move was actually cool. Wheelbarrow Codebreaker by the Luchadors. We're going to call them the Luchadors to save some words. There's a springboard back elbow by Aries onto Phantasma, who is draped over both of Sydal's knees. I thought that was cool, kind of in a lumbar check type of position. There is a pop-up cutter by Phantasma that I thought looked cool. Got a near fall out of it, and at the end, there's kind of a jumble of action, and Phantasma manages to get the pin on Sydal with the Thrill of the Kill finisher. So overall, this episode was pretty good. The street fight was actually not as long as I expected it to be, which I was thankful for. I think there's a couple feuds set up here. The Madison Rain thing is set up. Congo Kong being dominant is important, so I guess that's fine. And that final match is okay. I actually, for me, the highlight of this show might have been the funeral. I actually really, really enjoyed it. Like I said, I kind of rushed through the beginning of the show because I'm leaving. But, overall, very watchable, very enjoyable. Good job, Impact. You're still doing well. I'd say this was an 8 out of 10. I can't really complain too much. Couple kind of duds of matches, but they were supposed to be, so that's fine. So yeah, 8 out of 10, pretty solid score. Thanks for watching.